Oh man, the holidays are coming quick. Hi everybody, hope everybody's doing well. So I was at the Hunt Club last week doing chef services, and in my usual style, I had a last second thought, hey, let's show everybody how to prepare and roast a beef tenderloin, aka filet mignon, so that you guys, if you had the desire, you could do this for the upcoming holiday season. First thing is the preparation of the beef tenderloin. You want to break it down, clean it up. There's a few parts to it. First step is taking off the chain, and then you want to remove anything that's loose, sinew, different types of fat that you can pull off with your hand. At different points you can see that I'm using the knife just to loosen it up so that the filet mignon doesn't tear. Once you get to that point and clean it up and take off the biggest chunks of fat, down here is where it actually met the rib bone, and we're taking off the chunks of the fat with the little bits of the meat to get the actual classic shape of the whole beef tenderloin after it's cleaned. We're going to save all those fatty pieces of meat, and we're going to actually use that. The only thing that we're going to get rid of is basically that silver skin that's going to be the middle pile inside. The first piece we took off was the chain. We can actually use that with the fat sinew and mix it up with a little bit of lean meat, and you could grind it all together and make hamburger out of it. You can put it into a broth if you're going to make a beef stock. You can roast it and put it in there and pull the flavor out that way. The other thing I've done with that chain that's in the top left corner is you can cut the meat pieces out of it and actually use that as fillet tips. All right, we're pulling the silver skin off, and we're going from, it is pretty important to go from tail to head. The head is at 12 o'clock position as you're looking at the fillet. If you do not, you'll see a close-up of what's going to happen. You will actually rip the filet mignon. It's very easily destroyed. You see it's clean. You can get the example right here of it just pulls apart really easy. So when you do the silver skin, it's important to go from tail to head on the fillet. That is one of the most important parts of pulling the silver skin off. Some people like where I'm working on now at the head. Some people like to take those knuckles of meat off and use them for something else. I actually like to leave it on the fillet, especially roasting it. It just gives a nicer presentation at the end. It's an 8-pound filet mignon. You just saw me peel everything down. I have a few sections I want to go over for you. This is a whole filet. From here over is the actual head of the filet. That's where you traditionally get Chateaubriand from. This is the center cut from here to here, where you would get your fillets. From here to here, you would get your tornadoes, and then you would get your steak tips. You would get a little bit here, and then you would get a little bit at this end. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is this. I'm actually leaving, I'm going to take this little bit off here, but I'm leaving a lot of this fat because I am actually not cutting this fillet up. I'm going to season it, sear it, and roast it whole. Make sure your beef tenderloin is liberally seasoned with salt, black pepper, granulated onion, and garlic. At this point, you want to think like a chef. You're going to need a hot pan, hot oil, and now you're going to think presentation. So whichever side of the beef tenderloin you put in the oil first is going to be your presentation side. So the side that you put down first, it has to be the prettiest side of the fillet. After that, as you flip it, it's just not the same quality as the first initial sear. Just something to think about. point is medium-high heat. You get the outside seared, finish it off in the oven, let it rest, and slice it up. I'm going to try and shoot for 120 degrees in the fattest part of the fillet. I'm going to be serving this for 14 to 16 people. I have about an hour and a half left, so I got to get going, and it's going to be served with a mushroom demi-glace and blue cheese dressing. It's going to be served ambient. It's going to be sliced down and served next to the vegetables. Alright, so I need to touch on something here. I left the fat on the bottom part of the beef tenderloin. What my initial thought process was, I was going to actually leave that inverted with the fat on top so that it could drip into the meat itself as it was roasting. And I didn't do that, obviously, but the filet did turn out nice and tender. But I think that would have been just another step in keeping it moist. The other thing that I wanted to touch, you do not have to roast the filet at 390 degrees. I was actually in the middle of a service, so I had hors d'oeuvres that I had to cook, and I had to do other things as well in the oven, not just this roasted beef tenderloin. So I had to split the difference. Normally I would do the filet somewhere around 375, but I also do my appetizers and the hors d'oeuvres that I prep for this lunch at 400 degrees. So I split the difference, and you just have to adjust the cooking time on the filet and watch the different variables, make sure it doesn't burn, that kind of thing. But it worked out well at 390 degrees. As you can see on the clock through the video, it was about 50 minutes, I think. I'm not going to do the math, but I think if I remember correctly, it was somewhere around that time. At this point now, I'm getting the hors d'oeuvres up and set out. You definitely want to save the plate. The other mistake, well, it wasn't a mistake, I just had to cut time. I would have deglazed that pan first before I put it into my demi-glace, but I have to be ready by a certain time, so there's certain things that you can't always do, so you have to cut a step here, cut a step there just to be on time. So right now we're waiting for the filet to rest, and it's been sitting probably 15 minutes. My other critique of doing this, I think I would have flashed the filet whole in the oven for the 3 minutes to bring the outside up to a little bit warmer of a temperature, because the filet was right at room temperature pretty quick, and I like to bring it out with a little heat. When I sliced it up and I put it in the oven, even the 3 minutes, you can see the color of the filet. It was different, so it showed a little bit cooked, whereas if I put it back in the oven, like I said, whole, and then brought it out warm and sliced it, I think it would have stayed like the look you see here. That were my only two critiques of my own cooking looking back. I did have a piece at the end. The filet was very, very tasty. Thank you guys for coming along. If you don't mind, comment, like, and subscribe like always. It was a hectic day for me, but hopefully you learned something. If you have a question, please comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. Otherwise, if you guys decide to do this, hopefully you'll have something fun. Have a good holiday.
That's what's left.